podcast made by basketball fans for basketball fans. From the hottest takes, news, analysis, and passion for the sport that we all love, this is the Fast Break Pod with Finn James and Will Tremaine. Welcome into the Fast Break Podcast, the podcast made by basketball fans
for basketball fans.
Finn James.
Will Tremaine.
Hey, we're back with another episode. It's crazy. Honestly, we thought we were going to take a week off. Will's in Sydney for UFC 312, as you can see, live on the pod, sitting outside Bondi Central, sitting on the grassy bank. We got him up
on the grassy bank. So I'll give you a view of the beach.
Yeah, go on.
Overlooking.
Sensational.
Fucking Bondi, bro.
Sensational. We got him live, fresh after UFC 312, where Dricus Duplessis got the W over Sean Strickland. Before we get into anything basketball related, Will, what's been going on the last 6 to 8 hours in Sydney?
Yeah, man. So me and my brother and another one of our mates, we just came over for a quick little nice holiday getaway to watch UFC 312. Dricus Duplessis, Sean Strickland, and yeah, it's just wrapped up a couple hours ago. What a fight night. The card was a little bit underwhelming in terms of name value, but there was some great performances on the undercard. Quillen Salkill, the Aussie bloke, got an early knockout. That was a good one. And then, of course, the co-main event, Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez for the women's strawweight title. Great fight. Absolute dominance from Zhang Weili. And, of course, the main event, Sean Strickland, Duplessis 2. This one, we thought it was going to be another close one like the first fight, but nope. Dricus just went out there and did his thing. 5 rounds to zip is how I had it. He was just punching up Strickland, busted up his nose really bad, and still the middleweight champion of the world. So
crazy. Yeah,
very impressive performance from Dricus. Great atmosphere, all the Aussie crowd, obviously. Some of the chants they were coming up with was just insane. Probably not PC for the podcast. And of course, getting behind their guys, there was probably about 8 Aussies on the card. So
awesome.
Now it was bloody good. Glad I've been able to experience going to a UFC event live. So something I'll remember for a while. But lots of NBA trades, Finn.
Hey,
get into that, shall we?
Nah, before we get into that, mate, I got to ask you a genuine question. You know,
Yeah.
You've been at UFC 312 all day. How intoxicated are you currently live on the podcast?
Nah. I'm alright. I knew I had the podcast coming up, so I stayed nice and on my best behaviour. I had a couple beers at the event, of course.
Oh yeah,
but I'm alright. I'm ready to go.
Awesome,
ready
mate.
For the
awesome.
body.
Hey, we won't keep you too long. I won't keep you too long, of course. But we got to.
Of course.
We
got plenty of time, bro.
Oh, of course, mate. But we got to absolutely get into these trades before I send you off on a night out in Bondi Beach Town. So, obviously, Luka Doncic and AD trade. We won't be covering that on this episode. Obviously, if you want to check it out, episode 23 last week. Thank you guys all so much for the support on that episode, by the way. It became our most viewed episode within like 24 hours. It was an emergency pod with Adam, and it went so good. It was a lot of fun, so appreciate all you guys for the support on that one. But obviously, now that the trade deadline is done and dusted, it would have been super stupid if we didn't obviously wrap our heads around it all. Will, the biggest trade that I thought, other than the Luka Doncic AD trade, De'Aaron Fox to the San Antonio Spurs in a 3-team trade with the Sacramento Kings and the Chicago Bulls. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, massive trade, like you said. Any other year, this would probably be the blockbuster trade of the season. Obviously, we had Luka, but De'Aaron Fox is a Spur. It's crazy to say.
Crazy.
And he's played a couple games there now as well. He had a great first outing. I think he had like 13 assists, which I believe his assist numbers are going to go way up now that he's playing with Wemby, of course. And then he had that bloody game, I think it was yesterday, where he hit a game winner, but just time expired. So that's going to be exciting to see him and Wemby together. And, of course, Zach Lavine to the Kings as well. Not the biggest fan of that one, but we'll see how they go. Well, what about you?
I'm a big fan of this. As a San Antonio lover, obviously, Victor Wembanyama taking the whole league by storm the last 2 years. I think this... Give them some time. De'Aaron Fox, Victor Wembanyama, obviously Chris Paul still around, Greg Popovich still in the coaching staff, and obviously, I think the biggest takeaway from this trade for me for San Antonio was the fact that they got to keep their entire young core. They gave up basically cans. They kept Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, and Keldon Johnson alongside De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama. I reckon in about 4 or 5 years, these boys are going to be pretty damn good, Will.
Yeah, Stephon Castle, I mean, there's been lots of talks about how valuable the Spurs have viewed him. And I think those views are valid from what I've seen this season. I think he's a front runner for Rookie of the Year now since
100%.
McCain's out. He had that 33-point game the other night just to really run home the idea that he's going to be something special in this league. And it'll be interesting to see how he develops alongside De'Aaron Fox, who's obviously not as young as him, but he's still a youngish guy.
He's like
got a
late
bunch more years
20s,
left.
late 20s, De'Aaron Fox. I think. So still got a long way to go.
Does that mean Castle's going to develop as a 2 now? It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've really liked Stephon Castle's involvement with the team, of course, in the starting lineup along the other boys. But now that Fox is there, I feel like he's going to probably take a bit of a backseat on the bench, but maybe he could be running that bench unit. I mean, he's been very solid for a rookie.
Yeah, 100%. And they've also got Chris Paul, of course, so 3-point guards. Interesting to see what lineups they run.
Yeah, one other takeaway from this trade that I saw as well, the Chicago Bulls got not a lot in return for Zach Lavine. I'm not sure what they were thinking.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I've always been quite high on Trey Jones. He's gone to Chicago, but we'll see how he does. But yeah, I think L for Chicago, W for the Spurs, of course, and I think the Kings got a good haul in terms of picks. So yeah.
Well,
Great trade.
Zach Lavine obviously played with DeMar DeRozan on that Bulls team. That was, I think, maybe in the 2022 season, they were the first seed in the East, and people were saying they were going to be contenders before Lonzo went down with that knee injury. So, I mean, for them reuniting, I mean, I think Zach Lavine's also, in my opinion, been having a career year over in Chicago. Obviously, the rest of the team hasn't really been performing at the same standard, but Zach Lavine this year has been excellent. Yeah,
100%. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, he was the number 1 scoring option there in Chicago, but now he's got to share the rock with DeMar and Sabonis. I think he should still be the number 1 offensive option, but it'll be interesting to see how he molds his game to playing with Sabonis. I think it could work wonders, having Sabonis drop it down low to him in the paint, and then he can always just dish it out to Zach Lavine for an open 3. So it could work well, but it's looking tight in the West there for those last couple play-in spots. So the Kings will see if they're going to hold on to that or if they might slip up for another team on the rise. But who knows?
Oh, yeah. Hey, we'll get into them very soon as well, because honestly, Will, they've been impressing me just as much as any other team in this league. But I just want to know, who is playing point guard on Sacramento now that De'Aaron Fox is headed off?
Malik Monk is what I've heard.
Yeah, I think he's going to be
very highly of him. Yeah,
I mean, you had him winning Sixth Man of the Year at the start of this of the podcast when we obviously did our picks for all the of the awards, and I mean he's having a good year, so it'll be interesting to see what he's like as a facilitator. But I'm sure he's going to do well.
Yeah, I mean he was averaging 6 assists a game, I think, and that was coming off the bench as supposed to be 2 guards. So I think he's definitely got the facilitating in him, and now that he's starting more minutes and he's playing the point guard role, he could average around that 7-8 assists a game if he wants to.
Easily.
So, yeah.
Easily.
Interesting.
If you had to grade the trade though between the 3 teams, what letter grades would you be giving them all?
I'd give the Spurs a solid A.
Oh yeah.
Don't want to give it an A+ because that's reserved for the Lakers and only the Lakers for the rest of history for what they got in their trade. But I'd give it an A with getting De'Aaron to pair with Wemby. Kings, I'd give them a solid B+. I reckon. I think they got a bunch of good picks and Zach Lavine as well, who's not washed up or anything yet. And as for the Bulls, I don't know. We'll give them a D because I feel bad giving them an F. But
you can't give the Bulls an F. I guess they still got a few things in return, but yeah, I'm sort of in the same boat. I reckon the Spurs have done real well in getting a young De'Aaron Fox. I mean, he's an all-star caliber point guard, so I'd say slot them around a B+, A-, and then Bulls definitely down in a D, maybe a C- if they're lucky, and then I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how the Kings go. I have high hopes. I don't know how it's going to work over there, but I have high hopes for them. I mean, they've been all right since getting rid of Mike Brown, so I mean it'll be interesting to see how they continue this season. But hey, we'll have a look at the other trades as well. Brandon Ingram finally off the New Orleans Pelicans, heading over to the Toronto Raptors in a trade for Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, and 2 picks.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about this from both teams' standpoints, Will.
Nah, I can't believe the Raptors were able to get him for that cheap. I mean, obviously, we have our good mate Liam, who's a diehard Pelicans fan, and he did tell me that Ingram's value was plummeting. I think they've left it a year too late with trading Brandon Ingram. They would have got a lot more for him in the past with his injury issues this season, and I think he's on an expiring contract. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, got absolutely nothing for him in return, really. Bruce Brown.
I mean, Bruce Brown on the Nuggets was great, obviously part of that championship team, but since going to the Raptors, he's been pretty lackluster, so I'm not sure. I don't know. I have a soft spot in my heart for Kelly Olynyk. I don't know why. I always have. However, I know he's not the greatest player. I don't know how he's going to fit into that Pelicans role, but they got a couple picks out of it as well. But honestly, Brandon Ingram, I think he's about to hit 30. Expiring contract. I mean, the only thing that doesn't really sit right with me if I was a Raptors fan is that you have two really ball-dominant players in RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes as your 1 and 2 option. And now you've got somebody like Brandon Ingram coming in, who's also an incredibly ball-dominant player and has been for the Pelicans for a number of years now. I don't know how the three of them are going to facilitate them, like, fit on the floor together in Toronto.
Yeah, all three of them also being like forward, similar positions as well. So, and I mean, RJ Barrett having a absolutely career year. I don't think anyone saw this coming. Obviously, he left the Knicks and he's shot up to like what 22 a game on the Raptors. I think this could hurt him a lot, to be honest, because Brandon Ingram, if you're looking at it on paper, he should be the #1 offensive option now in Toronto, and that could affect RJ Barrett and his numbers, and who knows, maybe his mentality as well. Going, man, I was the #1 guy offensively, but now we got Brandon Ingram, and it'll be odd to see him going back to maybe the #2 option. And then, of course, like you said, Scotty Barnes. I think he'll continue to put up numbers because he's kind of like a point forward, good at passing and stuff. So I think he'll keep up his facilitating duties well with BI.
Yeah, I mean, the Raptors have been honestly, pretty poos all year. I mean, ethically tanking is what I've liked to been calling it. Obviously, RJ Barrett, like you said, a career, I think it will be like 22, 6 and 6. Really good stat line, honestly. And for them to be falling, I think they're in the bottom. They're below the 10th seed. I know that for a fact. Obviously, it fluctuates quite a bit, but I thought they would have had a pretty good year. They actually have some really talented players on Toronto as well. But I don't know. This Brandon Ingram trade, I'm not sure how I feel about it. I'm not sure what they're trying to achieve this season. If BI is on an expiring contract, they're in trouble, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about it now. They've got a stacked team just in terms of like names. Like, who's that starting lineup going to be? Obviously, RJ, Scotty, and BI are going to be those three middle positions, and you've got Jakob at the center. So does that mean, I guess Grady Dick's gone to the bench now, because you're going to start quickly, I'd imagine. But Grady Dick is a sixth man? That's pretty good.
They got a good roster. It'll be interesting to see how they put the pieces together, of course. But, yeah, I don't know. It sits with me a little weird. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about it. One trade I think that has gone completely under the radar, though, Will. And hear me out on this one. The Cleveland Cavaliers getting richer.
Ooh.
DeAndre Hunter. And honestly, they didn't give up much for this man who's having a pretty career year. I think he's averaging 20 a game on Atlanta this year. They only gave up Karis LeVert and Georges Niang. I think a first-round pick or 2 second-round picks or something like that. Wasn't a lot for DeAndre Hunter to slot into that starting small forward position. The rich get richer.
Crazy. That was obviously their weakest position. They had 3 All-Stars and a 4th potential borderline All-Star in Jared Allen already. Now they've got DeAndre Hunter, another 20-point per game scorer, slotted in at the 3 guard. And I'm a bit like you. I mean, they paid cheap for him, really. But my mindset is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They were already the top team in the league with OKC. I can't remember if they're first or second, but it's them and OKC. So I don't really understand the reasoning behind why they want to go and get DeAndre Hunter. But again, if you're going to get him for that cheap, I guess it doesn't hurt to try. So,
I mean, talented individual, lengthy, athletic, has been shooting the ball well all year. Defensively, he's not bad, but I think with him not having his big scoring role in Cleveland, I think his defensive efficiency and how he plays defensively is probably going to improve, especially being surrounded people like Evan Mobley and Jared Allen in your front court. I mean, I think this is a good trade for the Cavs, and like you said, it doesn't hurt to try.
Yeah. I mean, Khris Levert, he was playing all right off the bench, I thought.
Yeah.
I don't have his numbers in front of me, but it'll be interesting to see what their bench depth is like now. I think that'd be my only worry. Georges Niang, I don't think he added much, but yeah, I don't think it will impact them much. They'll still be top 2 team by the end of the season. I think they've almost locked down that first seed at this point with the way the Celtics have been playing, which is not the best. But it's a whole different game when it comes to playoff time, so it'll be interesting to see what this team's like in the playoffs. Obviously, a less experienced team than someone like the Celtics or the Bucks even. Yeah, it'll be interesting. Keep an eye on Cleveland. I think they do have the ability to go all the way with this roster, though. You can't say they don't with the way they've been playing this year.
No, absolutely. I mean, they were on track for a 70-win season at one point. Obviously, they dropped, I think, 3 games in 5 maybe a month ago, so kind of we're off the ball a bit there, but realistically, they're still the first team. I mean, not even realistically. They are the first team in the Eastern Conference. And that's a hard feat when you have teams like Boston and New York right on your tail. So, I mean, they're the real deal over in Cleveland this year for sure.
100%. Another trade that's happened, Finn. We got Kyle Kuzma to the Bucks. Obviously, this is one I'm keeping an eye on very closely with my love for Dame. And Khris Middleton to the Wizards. I wasn't a fan of this trade, I got to be honest. I think I've talked about it to you boys a bit, but I think Khris Middleton, I get that he's getting older and he's regressed, and Kyle Kuzma is probably the better player, and he's obviously got more potential, but what Khris Middleton probably brought to the locker room in terms of just a championship guy, has that experience. I don't really love it for the Bucks, if I'm being honest, and seeing how Kuzma's played in his first couple games, it's not made me any more optimistic.
I hated this trade. I honestly did. I think Khris Middleton has been so loyal to the franchise of Milwaukee for, I mean, I don't know how long. I think he was drafted to the Pistons, obviously, has been in Milwaukee for the majority of his career. When he got a chip with his boy Giannis, I mean, they're probably very close, potentially even best mates. And they throw him away for Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma, who shot 4 of 13 in his Bucks debut. Who's been an absolute clown on Washington this entire year. I can't believe it. It doesn't really sit right with me. Ethically, you got to let Khris Middleton finish his career as a Buck. I can't believe they got rid of him. Obviously, he's still held a little bit of value. I mean, Kuzma has a championship under his belt, has proved that he is a very good scorer when he is on. But in the last year, he has been so ass.
Yeah, and I mean, he's proven to be a good scorer, but that's playing on a Washington Wizards team where they don't care about winning at all. All they're doing is going out there and playing for themselves to put up the best numbers. It's pretty much him versus Jordan Poole, who's the number one guy, and they're just trying to score just unethical buckets. And if he brings that type of gameplay over to a contending team like Milwaukee, it's not going to help them out at all. So he needs to slot back into the sort of role he played on the Lakers, like you said, championship team.
The only positive I can see for the Bucks is that he comes in, Giannis is the big dog, Dame's the big dog. I mean, he's probably going to be playing under other players as well as he kind of tries to inject himself into the starting lineup. He's going to have to sort his shit out.
Yeah,
Giannis isn't going to put up with Kuzma throwing up behind the backboard shots like he did in Washington. Dame isn't going to put up with him throwing up contested step-back three-pointers. They're going to tell him how it is straight to his face. And Kuzma has the ability to be a very good role player. A 6'8" frame, puts the ball on the floor, athletic, has proven he can shoot the ball well. If he really, like you said, slots back into that role he had on the Lakers, doesn't try to be that flashy guy off the bench, and Giannis and Dame really put him in his place, honestly, I can see why the Bucks sort of made this trade.
Yeah, I think, like you said, Giannis, he's not gonna tolerate any of that.
Nah.
I think he's almost like become like LeBron was on every team LeBron's played. He almost has like a level of power, I think. Like if Giannis is not happy with the way Kuzma's playing, he'll just say, get him out of here, and the Bucks staff and general management will swiftly listen to him and put him on the bench or something. So he's got to impress Giannis, and he's got to impress the organization. But like you said, I think there's a chance this could work if he just goes back to understanding you're not the main guy, you're not even the second option, you're the third option on a good night, and even then you've got Bobby Portis, you've got Brook Lopez. If they're cooking, you just gotta play your role, spot up in the corner, hit your shots, and make smart drives. So we'll see how it works. but
Yeah.
I'm not optimistic.
Nah, neither am I, to be honest. And like, you know, they have Torian Prince as well. Gary Trent's been slightly improving throughout the year as well, so I don't know how Kuzma slots into this team. Obviously, Milwaukee probably are a contender this year with the roster they have. I think then come playoff time, they're going to be very hard to beat in 7 games. It's just whether Kuzma, you know, stops clowning around and sort of sorts his shit out. So, very interesting trade. Not sure how I feel about it. The Clippers actually made, I feel like, a pretty decent move that's sort of gone under the radar. Terrence Mann and, oh my god, the name escapes me, Bones Highland, plus 3 future second-round picks for Bogdan Bogdanovic from the Atlanta Hawks. I'm a big fan of this trade as a Clippers fan, I'll be honest.
Was it 3 second-round picks?
3 future second rounds, I'm pretty sure.
That might be a little bit of an overpay, Finn, I'm not going to lie. But you're the Clippers expert, so you let me know.
I'm a fan of this trade. I feel like we did lack a bit of scoring off the bench. Terrence Mann, I think, he was untouchable in the offseason for us. He's come back this year, kind of moved around the lineup quite a bit, has been a Clippers legend, obviously scored 39 points on Rudy Gobert in Game 6 of the 2021 Western Conference semifinals, which is a game I'll never forget. But I think it's unfortunate we had to let him go to the Hawks, but he still held some value. We managed to get a very, very, good bench scorer, a very underrated passer in Bogey. I'm a big fan of this for some more scoring off the bench because, honestly, we're a bit lackluster when it comes to our bench scoring. So I'm very happy we've picked up another person just to kind of hold the load a bit on the bench. But other than that, we did give up Terrence Mann. We gave up Bones. We also traded Kevin Porter Jr. to the Bucks for Marjon Beauchamp, which was super random. We were left with not a single backup point guard until this morning.
Who did you get this morning?
Did you not see?
No.
Ben Simmons was bought out by the Nets and we signed him.
Oh my god, that's breaking news to me. Ben Simmons! Yikes!
I woke up, my phone was popping off, everyone in my DMs saying, why is Ben Simmons just signed with the Clippers? And honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about the situation, but Ben Simmons is a Clipper.
How's he still an NBA player is the real question.
I have no idea, but
Bro.
Ben Simmons comes into the Clippers, and honestly, I'm not really sure how I feel. Obviously, we made a trade earlier on in the deadline as well for Patty Mills and Drew Eubanks. Eubanks has been alright. Patty Mills, locker room guy, is not really going to play much, but, we traded Mo Bamba away, got a backup center in Drew Eubanks, and in a few games he's been alright, but getting Ben Simmons as a Clippers fan, honestly, no idea how I feel about it. I'm still a bit torn. Ben Simmons is Ben Simmons. He hasn't looked good in 6 or 7 years probably since that one playoff series he had. So it'll be interesting to see what he's like. He's obviously going to come off the bench probably at that point guard position for us. But yeah, I don't know. We got a win against the Jazz today. He didn't play. So I guess we'll see in the future what he's like. But at this point in time, not sure. Really not sure how I feel about it.
So what, you got James Harden and Ben Simmons as your 2 point guards now?
Yeah.
You don't even really have a traditional, natural point guard.
Not really. Not really.
Oh.
Patty Mills and Chris Dunn are probably the only other point guards on our team, but both of them will likely play the 2 for us. Thumbs up. Thanks, Will, for that. Appreciate it. Chris Dunn is slotted in as a 2 for this majority of this year, so he hasn't exactly played point guard, which is completely fine, but I'm not sure how I feel about it. I mean, going forward will be interesting. I think we got a win against the Jazz today, which should have been a massive blowout, which wasn't, so a bit concerning in those areas, but in terms of our season right now, I think we're sitting at the 7th or 6th seed, so still a fair amount to go. I mean, we've got the All-Star break next weekend as well, so I don't know how we're feeling about it.
You've obviously got Kawhi's comeback now, and now making this move for Bogey. You have the mindset of win now, but I'm sorry to do this to you, Finn, but you had no future already, and now you're just giving away Terrence Mann.
Even in Sydney, you're going to do it to me.
You just gave away Terrence Mann and 3 second-round picks. You already owned 0 first-round picks and no young players. This team, I'm sorry, bro. What are you gonna do if you don't win it all? And I'm sorry, but you're not gonna win it all. Not this year or not next year.
Do you know how old Terrence Mann is?
How old was he?
He's 28.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah, he's not exactly
young.
No. He was a 4-year college player and he's been in the league for about 4 years. So
he was probably the youngest player on your team though.
No, he's not. Oh my god. Hey, we got
you have
Marjon Beauchamp. Bright future.
Oh yeah. Was that just a straight up swap?
Yeah, straight
Beauchamp
swap.
and-
KPJ, Marjon, Beauchamp.
Weird.
Very strange. That's what I mean. We got rid of KPJ as well as a backup point guard.
Give a backup for Dame now, Milwaukee, I guess.
Yeah, that's probably why they picked him.
Yeah, I don't understand the Clippers mindset. If I'm being honest. So.
I don't.
3 seconds,
mate. I'm so confusing as well. As a fan, I've been through it all already. It's confusing every time. But let's stray away from the Clippers chat. I want to highlight something that has, honestly, in my opinion, been swept under the blanket like crazy. What the hell is going on in Portland, Will?
I'm glad you asked,
mate.
Before I say that, I'll say at least the Clippers have been making moves, though.
Yeah.
More than some teams can say.
I'm a bit disappointed in the Portland front office for not making a single move.
Bro, I thought we were going to be the most, at least, if not one of, the most active teams at this deadline. And yet we go out there and make absolutely zero moves. Joe Cronin, what are you doing? He needs to be fired.
Oh, wow.
Find someone else. This is just abysmal. And I mean, it comes at a time, like you said, we're the hottest team in the NBA right now.
Somehow.
Before today,
Somehow.
we'd won 10 out of our last 11, and that one loss had been to the OKC Thunder, so can't take anything away from that. Until today, unfortunately, we've just played the Bucks today.
Ah, well.
Sorry, not the Bucks, the Timberwolves, and we lost to the Wolves. So 10 out of our last 12 still looks good on paper, but couldn't have come at a worse time, if I'm being honest, because I think the Blazers' general management, they looked at this little win streak that we've been on, and they thought, you know what, this team's actually all right. Why would we go and blow this team up? Anthony Simons has been playing really well recently during this stretch. Jeremy Grant, I've been seeing so much footage of him, just like, I follow all these Blazers accounts on social media, and I just have been seeing non-stop footage of him walking around Portland and them talking about how much he loves Portland and the fashion that they have in Portland and stuff.
You must hate that.
Oh my gosh, bro. I thought Jeremy was gone for sure. I thought DeAndre Ayton was on the move. I thought Rob Will was gone. I thought Anthony was 50-50. And yet we've done nothing. So
not a single
all their trade value is just going to go down more. And Shaedon Sharp's going to continue coming off the bench with limited minutes. I despise it. It's annoying.
Crazy. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe, one, that you're 10-2 in your last 12. And I couldn't believe you guys didn't make a single trade. It blows my mind.
And it puts us in like the worst possible place you could be. We're a tier above like the Washingtons and the Hornets and the Jazz and the Pelicans, but we're still a tier behind the play-in teams like the Warriors and the Kings and the Suns. So I mean, we're not going to get good odds at a good pick this year now at Cooper Flag. Tank for Flag, I think that's safe to say that's done for us. And the play-in, it's looking, we have a shot, but what does it mean to get the 9 or 10 seed and just
lose the game.
Losing the play-in anyway, so it's like, it's not good for being a Blazer fan right now. But to be honest, I don't think we need a high draft pick. We've got the young assets already. I just want to see them keep developing, and I can't help but feel happy when I see the team winning. So despite what we're trying to do, I see them win. It brings a bit of joy to me. So that's what sports is about at the end of the day, and choosing a team to support, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, fair play. I mean, you never know. You could make the 10th seed. I mean, you had them making the play-in at the start of the year, and, well, we all kind of know what's been going on. But, hey, to win 10 out of your last 12 is pretty impressive. So I'll hand it off to the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah, let's see if they keep
one
that up.
one thing we forgot to cover at the start of the podcast. The trade that got cancelled today.
Ooh.
Who saw this coming? If I'm a Lakers fan, I am so pissed off right now. Obviously, if you don't know what we're talking about, the Dalton Connect, Cam Reddish trade for Mark Williams has been cancelled. Mark Williams failed his physical coming into LA, and, I mean, essentially, players return.
Crazy. I don't understand why the Lakers wouldn't just tell a white lie and say that he passed his physical so that they can keep him. Because even if he's not healthy right now, give him a month, and it's still a great trade for the Lakers having a center with them. So, and even worse is that they've vetoed this trade, and it's after the deadline, so they can't go and make another move for a center now. So now you're stuck with Jackson Hayes is your starting center on the
Yep.
Lakers.
That was
Not
what I
good
was.
if you're a LeBron fan right now, I'll tell you that much.
That was the one thing I was thinking about as soon as I saw this. They honestly, in my opinion, got the perfect pickup for what they needed in Mark Williams. I think we've all said it. The Lakers needed a center like Mark Williams, a 7-2 lob threat, great rebounder, and defensively he was quite solid. Trade gets vetoed, and you know the most awkward thing is, Dalton Knecht and Cam Reddish return to the locker room after being traded. What the heck is going to go on in the locker room?
Yeah, that's crazy. The Lakers better pray that Dalton Knecht becomes some 20-point per game absolute bucket, which I could see happening, but
100%. I mean, he's 23.
not looking good.
Yeah, if I was a Lakers fan, I'd be so damn angry, because obviously if this was happening during the deadline, it's alright. There's enough time to go after Steven Adams, who was obviously in rumors that he would be going for a Lakers trade. There was rumors Steven Adams would be on the block. Obviously letting Mark Williams through that entire conversation out the window. And now that whole trade's been vetoed, they're stuck with Jackson Hayes and Christian Koloko as their center pairing, which is just honestly abysmal. And I don't think you can go far in the playoffs with Jackson Hayes as your starting center. Not possible.
Yeah, at least they had AD to fill that role, but they don't even have him anymore. So Jackson Hayes going to be getting big minutes. And like you said, I mean, that veto is just worst possible timing for the Lakers. I think even despite them having got Mark Williams, I still think they should have gone out there and made a move for Steven Adams to bring a backup big in there. Because I don't know if I like Jackson Hayes still being a backup big man even. So I was disappointed that no one made a move for Steven, because now his career is going to continue to dwindle away in Houston with limited game time, which is fair. They have Sengun. But, I was hoping Steven would be on the move to somewhere. The Lakers would have been a great fit if you ask me.
Mate, I honestly, personally, I don't think Steven Adams really cares that he's making like 20 mil a year just sitting on the bench. I mean, that's what his contract's worth. However, Steven Adams on the move to the Lakers would have been one of the biggest sports stories, honestly, in New Zealand this year. A Kiwi 100%. Playing in the purple and gold, one of the most prestigious, well-known sports teams in the entire world. Would have been crazy.
Imagine how many Lakers Steven Adams jerseys would be walking around. And
they'd be sold everywhere. You'd probably be able to buy them in your supermarket.
Probably.
It's a shame. I feel bad as a Lakers fan. If I was a Lakers fan, I'd feel bad. But realistically, can you write them off? They have Luka Doncic and LeBron James.
Yeah, insane. If Luka comes back healthy and goes back to how he was last year, I think that's got to be a contending team still.
It has to be, right?
Top 10, dare I say top 5? No, it's not top 5, but two top 10 players in the league still, and both just like all-round offensive weapons. Luka obviously lacks on the defensive end, and LeBron this season, so I think that's what will stop them from going far, the defensive side of the ball, but they'll be putting up points, that's for sure.
Oh, definitely. It'll be interesting to see how it all clicks. Apparently, I've seen reports that Luka was supposed to make his debut on Monday, Tuesday our time. Potentially might be getting pushed back because apparently he's still in shock that he's in Los Angeles. At trainings and stuff, he walks around like looking very uncomfortable. Coaches have been giving him space because Dallas was his life. Outside of Slovenia, he'd never lived anywhere before. So he's in a brand new city. Los Angeles is one of the craziest cities in America. Gets just thrown there, and he's not that old. 25 is pretty young, in my opinion. Like, that's only 2 years older than myself, and I mean, I still feel like I'm a child. So, Luka only 2 years older, face of the NBA potentially in Europe. From Slovenia to Dallas, from Dallas to LA, I could see why he'd be a little bit overwhelmed, and probably the last thing on his mind right now is, trying to play basketball.
It's still just crazy comprehending this. Just the fact that we're talking about it right now has just made me go back into a state of shock almost.
I know.
Just can't believe what Dallas were thinking, bro. Obviously, AD played great today, but it's title or bust for them, man. And then they went and made another... Should we talk about that move real quick? The Quentin Grimes and Caleb Martin swap. And the Mavericks were the team that gave up the pick?
I don't understand it at all. First of all, I really like Quentin Grimes on the Mavericks. I thought he was playing really well. He had a bit of youth as well, could score on all three levels. Don't get me wrong, Caleb Martin is a really good role player, has been pretty solid on the Sixers this year. Honestly, had a generational run with the Heat. I think it must have been last season. The whole, thing with his face. He's a great player, but Quentin Grimes in a pick for Caleb Martin? Don't really understand it from a Mavericks point of view here.
I mean, Quentin Grimes, I think, is the better player right now, and he's the younger player with more potential. So I thought, okay, surely the Sixers are the ones giving up the pick here. But it's Dallas. I just can't wrap my head around it. And, man, Nico Harrison, what is wrong with that geezer, bro?
I don't know.
He needs some help. I mean, the Mavs fans are probably after him right now. I'd be watching my back if I was Nico Harrison walking the streets of Dallas.
I heard he actually had to up his security.
Oh, not surprised though. There's probably some lunatics out there in Dallas.
Insane, right?
Oh my god.
As a Mavs fan, I'm punching the air right now. I can't believe the trade deadline that they had. And, I mean, they beat Houston this morning, don't get me wrong, it's a great win for them. But look, AD, non-contact injury in his first game in a Mavericks uniform. Goes to the locker room. If he goes down with an injury, they're going to F minus, bro. Like, what?
And it's just so, hypocritical, almost. Hypocritical in a way. Like, they said the reason they traded Luka was because of his conditioning and his availability to play. I mean, he's been more available than AD. AD's, he's not the most in-shape, healthy guy, all throughout the season. He has his injury woes. He's missed games. He's been good the last couple of years, but you got to expect this with an aging big man that they're going to pick up injuries here and there. Especially someone that relies on their athleticism like AD as well, like blocking shots, putting back rebound dunks. I mean, yeah, it's going to look even worse for the Mavericks if this is a bad injury or anything, or if anything does happen to AD.
Yeah. The only bright spot, I mean, not the only bright spot, but another bright spot from the trade, I think Max Christie has actually been playing all right in his last few games for the Mavericks, which obviously he was starting for the Lakers for the majority of this year and has kind of found himself a good role in this league. So it's good to see him. I mean, he hit the dagger against Houston today. So
yeah.
Mavericks fans are probably
happy. If I'm wrong, but Kyrie struggled today though, didn't he?
I haven't actually seen the box score, but he wasn't doing great.
I remember checking it at halftime and he had 4 points or something. Maybe he bounced back, but obviously they need him and AD to both be on their top form if they want to have any shot at a championship. And hey, if they do win a championship, Nico Harrison can make a public announcement to the world and tell everyone, I told you so.
Yeah.
And we'll all look like a bunch of idiots. But if anything other than that happens, I think Nico Harrison has got to go down as one of the worst GMs in NBA history. I'm calling it now.
Up there. Almost as bad as the Clippers GM.
Oh, yeah. But to be fair to him, at the time, that was a good trade. No one around the world said, "Oh, that's an L trade for the Clippers."
No,
you were getting Kawhi and Paul George. Although Kawhi wasn't technically in the deal, he wasn't coming without PG.
No, he wasn't. That was confirmed as well. But
yeah.
Hey, next weekend though, Will, as we shift to outside the trade talks, NBA All-Star Weekend.
Ooh.
How are you feeling about it?
It'll be entertaining.
Are you a fan? Obviously, the All-Star game, in my opinion, has been kind of lackluster in the last few years. They've changed the format, and of course, the dunk contest and the three-point contest, skills challenge. Are you a big fan of it?
I am. I'm not actually. I'm a fan of who they've got for the games and stuff, but I don't like the three-team format with the Chuck and the Shaq and the Kenny team. I would have preferred to have seen the traditional two teams going back and forth format. Maybe just East versus West, or go back to the captains. Not the biggest fan of this 3 different teams. And isn't it the winning team with the Rising Stars? I think is the fourth
team.
Yeah, I think looking at the draft though, I think it was Chuck's team. I believe. I think that looked like the best team in my opinion. He got Shea and Jokic on that team. And obviously there was, I think it was Shaq. He took all the old guys: LeBron, KD, Dame, James Harden. Interesting seeing how they each drafted their teams.
I'm a fan, honestly, of the new format. They trialed it in the Rising Stars Challenge, I think, last season, and I think just in recent years, with how the All-Star game has gone, it lacks the competitive nature. Like, the players really couldn't give two shits about the game anymore. So I feel like now that there's 4 teams, first to 40, they're going to be trying their shorter, snappier games, more street ball style. I think it's going to be more entertaining, maybe less flashy and less half courts and stuff from Dame and Curry and whatnot. But I still think, from a entertainment standpoint, this is potentially going to be better for basketball fans, just quietly. But it's a good trial. I feel like they did need to switch something up because, personally, I don't think it was working anymore. So I think this is a good switch up for the league just to give this a go.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. And obviously we'll break it all down on the next episode. And we've got NBL finals coming up as well, Finn.
Yeah.
So got to keep a close eye on that. Obviously
Very
the breakers
exciting.
are out, but still going to be great to follow along. Who's going to win the chip? NBL 25. Lots of basketball action next few weeks.
So much. I mean, obviously, we haven't even touched on the breakers at all because I feel like they're sort of at the back of everyone's mind in New Zealand now. But ended off the season with a loss to Illawarra, I think 82-96, and Matt Mooney and Pateri Koponen screamed at each other, and Matt Mooney got benched for the whole rest of the game. So, not the greatest end to the season. Look, fingers crossed we can make some good off-season pulls. Obviously, Taco returning, but I'm hoping for some Kiwi players coming back around next season. Hopefully a re-sign from PJC. But in terms of the NBL finals, thoroughly looking forward to the play-in games. The table is set in stone, and obviously we'll be breaking that all down throughout as well. But obviously the NBA All-Star Weekend is going to be the main point of talk in this next episode, of course.
Yeah, and just quickly on the Breakers note, I've heard apparently Matt Mooney was keen to come back to the Breakers for next season.
Oh no!
That was before what happened the other night. I haven't heard anything since. Forgive me if I've been my mind's been somewhere else. But yeah, I've heard before that at least that he was keen to come back. So hopefully he ain't changed his mind, and hopefully there's not going to be an ultimatum, Matt Mooney or Pateri Koponen, because I'd love to see them both return.
Yeah, I think Matt Mooney was sort of impressing me when PJC's absence. He's off to Puerto Rico to continue his season. So good on Matt Mooney.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that'll be all for this episode, this very special episode of Will in Sydney, Bondi Beach, UFC 312 trade deadline action. We had to get an episode out. We were thinking of taking a week off. We couldn't do it. Obviously, Will, appreciate you coming on. I mean, you've had
Priorities.
You've had a very busy day, and I'm sure you're about to go have a whole lot of fun in Bondi tonight. So enjoy that one.
We'll see.
But yeah, we'll see you guys next week. And stay tuned. Big breakdown of the NBA All-Star Game, the 3-point contest, and the dunk contest as well. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you next week.
Yes, sir.